So to start with,
primarily is the account of, so take which we call as albedo of the earth. But now what I would like to are budgeting as such.
So like you rightly have explained, what I think here is part of it and very efficient also, and parallelly
It roughly refers to help us in achieving energy security for our future.
security, then affordability of the source, and how having an objective of producing, and definitely become a future source, because when we talk about solar budget, sometimes support, sometimes
For example, climate as well as topography. As far as climate is receiving, and if we talk about, and in fact, third impact, the potential.
crucial budget aspects, considering the geography.
Using geographic information systems. Advantage from the high amount of, that is first thing, that is using GIS systems. Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Rao's IAS podcast. It is a platform to talk about various issues related to civil service examinations and to have expert opinions on the same issues. Today we are joined by Mr. Indrajeet sir. Welcome
Thank you,
to the
sir.
show, sir. Sir, to start with a conversation on solar budgeting, I would like to know what is exactly solar budget in brief and simple language.
So, sir, solar budget primarily is the account of the solar insolation that the earth receives and the different pathways of its usage. So, take for instance, when we get the sunlight, whatever solar light is incident on the earth, okay, almost 35% of that is straightforward reflected back, which we call as albedo of the earth. So what we are going to get as a net solar insolation is only 65% of what is incident. So this is basically the concept of solar budget. But now what I would like to know from you is how this whole idea flows into the concept of solar budgeting as such.
So, like you rightly have explained about solar budget, what I see as a concept of solar budgeting is that there could be a lot of pathways of utilizing this sunlight that the earth is able to receive. What I think here is that once the light we receive, some of it is obviously used in creating weather patterns, photosynthesis, such activities, but a major part of it can help us in channelizing its future utility. Like one way could be active and passive solar systems, like we can build solar tents which are very economical at the same time and very efficient also. And parallelly we can also talk about solar paneling, solar power plants and such. So solar power plants is a very good solution towards solar budgeting.
So it means, as I read it, it roughly refers to allocation of the resources for the use of this surplus solar energy. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
But
exactly.
what I am curious to know is how this is going to help us in achieving energy security for our future.
So like if you talk about future energy security, then there could be certain parameters we can consider on future energy security. Like for any future energy source, they have to be availability of the fuel, availability of the source, affordability of the source, and how quickly we are able to adapt to it. So solar energy fits into that definition very widely. It is right now the cheapest source of energy available, and at the same time, with Government of India taking initiatives like National Solar Mission, which is already having an objective of producing 450 gigawatts of energy by 2030. We are already at somewhere around 70 gigawatts as of now. It can definitely become a future source, because with more investments, more and more focus towards the things, I think it can be a good energy source for the future, sir. Now, what I have, sir, for you here is, when we talk about solar budget, we understand that India's landscape is not uniform, right? Our geography plays a very strong, sometimes support, sometimes it may be a hindrance. So where do you see that the geographical aspect of India's solar budget lies?
So this geographical aspect, I would like to break it into, let's say, for example, climate as well as topography. As far as climate is concerned, if we talk about India, it's more or less about solar irradiance, how much solar insolation we are receiving. And if we talk about India, it goes into the range of 4 to 7 kilowatt hours per meter square per day, which is on the higher side, which makes India definitely a highly potential region for solar power generation. Okay. Regionally, if we see, let's take for example Rajasthan. Rajasthan gets more than 300 sunny days in a year.
Right.
And in fact, Thar Desert has a potential to produce as much power more than rather required by the country as a whole. So that there is definitely a regional variation in that. But along with that, the cloudiness of any area can also impact the potential, as it increases the albedo or the reflection by the earth.
So, but I want to precisely know here, what do you think are the crucial budget aspects, considering the geography of the country? Where do you think are the crucial budgetary aspects to decide that whether India is ready to introduce a solar panel?
Absolutely. In the crucial components, if we are talking about, the first aspect definitely is using geographic information systems. Using the GIS to select the suitable location. Okay, that's very important. Say for example, the Bhadla Solar Park in Rajasthan. Okay, one of the largest in the world. Okay, that takes advantage from the high amount of solar irradiance that is received in Rajasthan. So that is first thing, that is using GIS systems. Okay, apart from that, the initial investment part is very important. Okay, wherein topography is going to play a very important role. So again, if I consider Gujarat with or vis-a-vis Karnataka, okay, Gujarat having large, vast plain areas, okay, the initial investment costs can be quite less compared to the hilly areas, hilly terrain of Karnataka. True. And in addition to that, now if we go with the operational costs also, so some type of climates may not be favorable in fact for solar power generation or establishment of large solar parks. Okay, one of the example I can think of can be Tamil Nadu, say for example, the coastal area. Okay, it has an inherent problem of a salt mist, and so salt mist related corrosion of the solar panels. Similarly, very high temperature areas which receive very extreme temperatures. Okay, the fact is, as the temperature goes higher, okay, the efficiency of solar panel goes down. So definitely geography, based on geography, we can identify a number of components right there, starting from choosing the location to initial investment to the operational costs itself. But these are the geographical perspective. Going beyond that, if we see, it's not just about geography, it has a number of other dimensions, economy and such. So what do you think can be other ways of optimization?
So you have rightly mentioned probably all the components that involves solar energy. To my understanding, if I talk about optimizing the things, I think the policies in the right direction can be a very good, way to optimize solar potential of our country. Like already, like I mentioned in my previous statement about National Solar Mission that we have, which is already having a projection of 450 gigawatts of power by 2030. Apart from that, Government of India is also trying to introduce more and more initiatives in order to optimize the utilization of solar energy. Like PM Kusum happens to be a good initiative where farmers can have an extra income from solar energy itself. Apart from that, there have been some parallel initiatives like PM Janman is another initiative where they talk about how we can utilize solar energy in PVTG or tribal dominated areas. We can have some kind of solar pumps and some other kinds of solar based initiatives can be put up. Apart from that, some university levels also we see some R&D happening, which happens to help, like you mentioned about efficiency of the solar panels. They are also trying to work out with improving efficiency possibilities and also using active passive system at the same time. So there is of course a lot of work needs to be done in the area of optimization. But sir, I have another question for you here. What comes to my mind when I listen to your arguments on geography, I see a lot of challenges still. There seems to be a lot of challenges surrounding the area of solar panels. Like when I talk about the idea of operational cost of a solar panel or the overall operating cost of the solar panel, I often think that if you talk about only putting up solar panels on land, will that be a good way of operating the cost of reducing the operational cost of solar panels, or do you think that there could be another alternative here, sir?
The alternatives primarily are in the form of technological innovations. So technological innovations, as I was telling you, one challenge that is the salt mist corrosion in the coastal areas.
Right.
So this particular natural problem has been overcome very successfully by Adani solar power plant in Tamil Nadu, okay, which has used advanced anti-corrosion technology in their solar panels. Right. So this is just one example. Okay, definitely the idea is it paves the way for our understanding or realizing the fact that technology is going to play a very important role in overcoming these natural challenges. But along with this, what I would like to know from you, as I was talking about the geographical challenges, one very major challenge with respect to a tropical country like India definitely would be the operating temperatures. So how can that be dealt with?
So operating temperature is, again, you have mentioned in your previous points that with increase in temperature, the efficiency of solar panel reduces. So one possible solution which I can often foresight is floating solar panels. Floating solar panel could be one way to reduce the operational temperature, because putting a solar panel on a wetland or on a water body will have a lesser surrounding temperature. Absolutely. And it may register a higher efficiency. But again, this is only from the technical point of view. I'm saying from geographical point of view, from biological point of view, I think you can shed a better light that what are the possibilities.
Definitely, it seems to be a very good solution. In fact, this particular solution of the floating solar panels augurs very well with our target, our aim of wetland conservation. Okay, it effectively covering the water surface with these floating solar panels, first of all, reduces losses, okay, which is a huge benefit. Okay, and it can be used not just in the wetlands, okay, normal wetlands, but we have a very vast network of irrigation channels like canals and all. Okay, there also we have this problem of evaporational losses, and so it is going to solve that problem also. For instance, I can think of this floating solar park being developed in Bakhira Bird Sanctuary in UP. Okay, now this is in pipeline, and this is an Ramsar site actually. And in fact, it is India's largest natural floodplain wetland. So there we can see the government has this idea where we can have a convergence of the solar power production as well as the wetland conservation.
So another question that interests me here is that when you mention about floating solar panels, where do you see the feasibility here? Because like one point that comes to my mind is that if Rajasthan is having a higher potential like you mentioned earlier, or if floating solar panels are possible, so will it be ever possible for us to put up solar panels across Rajasthan or across the wetlands of India or across the waters of India? How do you see the feasibility of this?
This is a very interesting idea actually, sir, because I have also been hearing a lot if we have so much potential. So for common people, the only challenge it seems to be like acquiring the solar panels. You get the solar panels, cover everything with solar panel, produce the solar electricity. But we have to see what would be its impact on the long term as well as the short term impacts of that. Take for instance, we can understand it by examples. If I am talking about covering whole of the Thar desert, let's say, with solar panels. But we should not forget that it is going to impact the heating of the ground. Now geographically, if you see, heating of the ground of Thar desert is extremely important, because the heated Thar desert, now it develops a very strong low pressure which acts as a magnet for southwest monsoon winds. So if Thar desert is not properly heated, it is going to negatively impact our monsoon rainfall,
Right.
okay, which would be a major negative impact on India.
True.
Okay, similarly, getting around second idea, that is floating solar panels, covering whole of the water bodies with floating solar panels. Yes, we have talked about the benefit it is going to reduce the evaporational losses, but at the same time I have to see that if the sunlight is not reaching into the water, it is going to impact the rate of photosynthesis. And eventually it is going to impact the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water, creating anoxia conditions. So ultimately, in the longer run, or when doing it on a larger scale, it may have an adverse impact on the aquatic biodiversity. So there we can see that these are possibilities, we have the potential, but we will have to strike a perfect balance where it should not be done in a way or on a scale where our natural cycles get distorted or disturbed. But all of this done, challenges and all, yes, feasibility is the case, but the most important issue that I see, it's not just limited to solar power generation, but across the power sectors, has been an issue of transmission losses. So how do you see, okay, the solution to this problem, or what can be done?
Sir, transmission losses, like you rightly mentioned, that it is across all the power sectors we see transmission losses. So if I put it simply, that transmission loss is the loss of electrical energy that we see over a distance. So if electric current is made to pass through over a distance of, let's say, 1000 kilometers, we see that normal AC currents, they may fall by up to 10 to 20%. Their transmission losses are much greater. But when we compare it with high voltage DC current, high voltage DC currents, they happens to register a loss of just 3%. So if there is a proper transition that can be done from high voltage AC to high voltage DC, then that can significantly help in reducing the transmission losses. but like it's true that nothing comes free. So when it comes to the idea of things related to cost, I honestly think that costing could be costing
That
could be
precisely was my question. That as we are suggesting is sort of complete overhaul of the transmission system. So it is going to cost hugely to the country. So how it can be resolved, this particular issue?
Costing is definitely a very big thing, sir. I would say that for any kind of transition, it would involve a lot of investment. So from costing point of view, if I consider, I think one initiative that India started in 2015 was International Solar Alliance.
Absolutely.
So that could be a good initiative if it is able to materialize its objective. So there are some initiatives under ISA, like there is a concept of solar facility where they are coming with a payment guarantee fund, an insurance fund, and parallel to that, World Bank is also working on coming up with a World Solar Bank. In that case, it can extensively help in providing fundings for these kind of transition, this kind of innovation. But I'm still personally, because you asked this question, but I'm still a little skeptic on my fact that where do you see these things going ahead when you consider an entire international organization working in the area of solar energy? How do you see this really being converted into a massive movement later on?
So first, if we talk, as you have already said, that India has been a leader in this whole initiative of ISA. As our PM has envisioned it in the form of OSOVOG. Yes, one sun, one world, one grid. The whole idea is huge. Okay, where the idea is to interconnect the different regional grids into a common grid. And so what we see is it's not just about countries playing solely, but rather playing collectively. All the countries which have common concerns as well as common potential, they are coming together to solve one of a very big issue or a major issue in terms of the environmental impacts of the use of non-renewables. So definitely the idea is big and the collective efforts has to be there, which is going to give us a good yield. But more so over, going beyond that also, how I see it is this ISA in fact is going to be a major diplomatic tool for India also. So as experts have opined that this ISA can be a counter to China's BRI, okay, wherein yes, China's BRI is focused on infrastructure-led, okay, regional hegemony. Okay, we do not go with the idea of hegemony, but we go with the idea of collective efforts. Okay, and definitely India leading the ISA, okay, it provides us an opportunity to use ISA as a software diplomacy tool, okay, to assert ourselves as the regional leader and a major global player.
That's very nicely put.
Absolutely.
I think collectively if we go, it would be a very good. So guys, this was our discussion on the issue of solar budgeting. Indrajeet sir has been very kind to explain not just what is solar budget, but at the same time he has been able to relate it with geography, environment, and at the same time with international relations. So I think this particular discussion would have been quite fruitful for all the listeners. And this is my personal request that if you can share other topics where you want more content like this, so we'll be very happy, and we'll also bring Indrajeet sir again for such future discussions. Thank you very much.